everyone, it's Jordan Faith. Today I'm sharing my 5 tips to minimize frizz through your washing and styling routine. I want to preface this video by saying that frizz is not the enemy. Frizz is natural. You're always gonna have at least a little bit of frizz. That being said, I know a lot of people are always looking for different ways to reduce the amount of frizz that they end up with. And that's where these tips are gonna come in. Here on my channel, I focus on making all sorts of wavy and curly hair content, and I upload a new video every week. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. I'm gonna take you through the whole routine while I go over my tips, so let's get started. Tip number 1 is to clarify. I am going to be using the Ion Hard Water Shampoo. As with any shampoo, I'm focusing this on my scalp and at my roots, and then I'm squeezing the suds down the lengths of my hair, and this will be enough cleansing to remove the buildup from my hair strands and give me that nice clean base that I'm looking for as we move on. I really enjoy this one. It is very good at cleansing away any sort of buildup that might be on your hair strands. Buildup can contribute a lot to frizz when there is product or mineral buildup or oil buildup on your individual hair strands. That keeps them from laying smoothly together. It can also make it so that your hair is more easily weighed down and so that your washing, conditioning, and styling products are not able to penetrate or have the full effect of what they're supposed to do for your hair. So in order to start off with a really clean base so that every one of our consecutive steps give the best possible results, we want to make sure to clarify. And you want to clarify pretty regularly. The exact timing will depend on your hair, your water, the products that you regularly use, but a good general rule of thumb is to start with about once a month and decide from there if you need it more frequently or less frequently. I clarify pretty frequently with a shampoo like this Ion shampoo because I have medium porosity, fine to medium with hair strands and a very loose curl pattern. So my hair is easily weighed down and more prone to buildup. Now that my hair has been stripped of any product, mineral, or other buildup, I want to take the time to give it some extra TLC by doing a deep conditioning treatment, which is tip number 2. Just like clarifying, you want to make sure to work deep conditioning into your regular routine, starting off with about once a month and deciding if you need deep conditioning more frequently or less frequently. Again, this will depend on your hair type, your hair's needs, the level of damage your hair has, and a lot of other factors. I'm using the Mielle Babassu and Mint Deep Conditioner. This is my favorite deep conditioner. It packs a big punch of protein in the form of amino acids, which is really good for my hair type. It really helps nourish and strengthen your hair by filling in any holes in the cuticle, which can leave you with a shinier, more frizz-free result. I kept this deep conditioner on for about 10-ish minutes, and then I rinsed it out completely. You want to make sure not to leave any deep conditioner in your hair. It's likely to be too heavy, could lead to over moisturization. It could give you more buildup. So if the product does not say you can leave it in your hair, you probably shouldn't leave it in your hair. Now that our hair has been washed and conditioned and is thoroughly rinsed, we are at tip number 3, which is to prep your hair before styling. I'll be using a leave-in conditioner. You could also use a cream, even a serum. Basically, you want to take the time to do this step to add extra conditioning to your hair so that your curl clumps will smooth together and stick together. I also highly recommend using a brush at this stage. I usually use the Perfect Hair Care brush, and this helps a lot to help those hairs, any stray hairs, any potential frizz, lay down together with the rest of the hair and find its curl family. So you want to make sure to work in your prep product and smooth the hair together so you can get those really nice frizz-free defined curl clumps. Of course, this is also extra helpful if you have drier hair because it's just another step to add more moisture and conditioning. When I'm forming my curl clumps and then applying my stylers, I like to make sure that my hair is very wet. This is another measure that helps my hair to stick together and lay down any stray hairs so they don't become extra frizz later on. Now that the hair is prepped, you've got your hair all smooth in its curl clumps. We want to do what we can to keep it that way. So tip number 4 is to use styling products with hold. I am going to layer products, starting off with the Umberto Giannini Curl Jelly. I've really been enjoying this lately. It's very easy to work with. It's really smooth and not sticky. So I like using this as a first styler to smooth it over my clumps and scrunch it in to help hold everything together initially before topping it with a stronger hold product. This product also helps enhance my wave pattern, blends a bit more moisture, and helps give me extra shiny results. Today I'm topping it with the Aussie Instant Freeze Gel, which has a much harder hold for me. It is a little bit trickier to work with, which is why I use it second. It's stickier, so it's helpful for me to have a little bit of product already on my hair holding it together before going in with a stickier gel, because it helps my stray hairs not stick to my hands as much. So they'll stay in their curl families and I'm not creating more frizz when I'm trying to minimize it. I don't brush my gels through because I have a really loose curl pattern. My waves are very large and swoopy, so I don't need or want that gel to be brushed through because the clumps that I create are larger than they would be if I were running a brush through. And I want the gel on the outside of my clumps to hold the hair together, not all throughout, which could inhibit them from sticking together and giving me those nice, larger wavy clumps that I like. If you have a tighter texture and a smaller curl diameter, brushing your gel through might work wonderfully. Or if your hair is more dense, because that's going to ensure that you're really getting a very good and thorough distribution of the product, which is also a super important step during the styling process, because if you're not getting even application of your styling product, you're not going to get adequate hold throughout your head of hair, which will probably leave you with spots that are more frizzy because they just didn't get the hold they needed because the product didn't make its way to that section. I don't find that I need to section because I don't have very much hair and I do have a looser curl pattern. But please keep that in mind, that it might be a step that you want to add to your routine. If you're finding that your stylers aren't evenly distributing throughout your hair, if you're getting less hold in certain sections than others, you might want to reevaluate and consider sectioning if you don't do that already. Because I style on quite wet hair, I do like to take an extra step, and after I've microplopped or squeezed out some water with a towel or t-shirt, I will add just a little bit more of my strongest hold styler, very carefully, very gently, for an added layer of hold. But you do need to be slightly more cautious and make sure not to haphazardly scrunch it in, because especially if you're using a sticky gel, that will likely create a little bit more frizz rather than minimize frizz, which is the aim of these tips in this video. But again, frizz is not the enemy. Now that our hair is styled, that brings us to the 5th tip, and that is making sure you use the correct drying method. So if you want the least frizz, I recommend not touching your hair anymore with your hands at all if you can help it. And I would start out, if you are going to diffuse, which can be helpful because it speeds up the drying process. So it gives your hair less time throughout the drying process to create frizz. So if you are able or want to diffuse, I would start with hover diffusing, which is where you hold the diffuser away from your hair without touching it to your hair to help dry that layer of gel on the outside of your hair to keep as much potential frizz within the curl clump and not escaping. Depending on your blow dryer and the diffuser that you have, you'll have to adjust your speed and your drying method. I can hover diffuse with my Conair Infinity Pro and my black orchid diffuser on high speed without it blowing my hair in the wind. But if you're using your blow dryer on whatever setting and it's blowing your hair back and forth, you're gonna wanna lower the speed if you're aiming for less frizz. So use the highest speed that you can without blowing more frizz into your hair. As soon as that top layer of the gel on your hair starts to dry, you should be able to then carefully start pixie diffusing if you like to, or you could even stop there and let your hair continue to air dry from that point. But again, you want to make sure not to touch it with your hands. Touch it as little as you can, because every time you touch it, you have the potential to remove a little bit of the product and loosen up some loose hairs and create a little bit of frizz. And those are my 5 basic tips to reduce frizz as you go throughout your routine. I always like to say that it's easier to prevent frizz during your washing and styling routine and your drying routine than it is to try to fix frizz later on. Really quick bonus tip, I will sometimes do this, but not always, because I do have finer, looser hair, but it can also be helpful to scrunch out the crunch or just smooth on some oil or some serum after your hair has fully dried. This can help seal everything in and of course lay down any frizz that might have created itself as you went throughout the process. And it can also add shine, which can help disguise frizz, but it doesn't work for every hair type. If you have hair more like mine, you have to be a little bit more careful to make sure the oil or serum that you're using isn't too heavy. You don't want to go through all of that to just end up with greasy and weighed down hair. These are my results after following all these tips. My frizz is very minimal. I think my hair looks really nice. I still have pretty good volume for me, and I have nice definition and pretty shiny, healthy looking results. My hair is very healthy and it has gotten shinier as it's gotten healthy. I didn't start learning how to take care of it until after I cut off all my bleach damage. So I kind of just started a step ahead of anyone going into this wavy, curly journey, wanting to grow out any damaged hair that they have. I did that part before I decided to start learning to style my wavy hair. So I know that I do have it a little bit easier. I also have an extra easier time with avoiding frizz because my pregnancy hormones during my past 2 pregnancies really smoothed out my hair a lot. Obviously, I still get frizz. I still have a curl pattern. It hasn't completely straightened out, but it used to be not this loose. So I'm kind of re-accepting my hair. I'm not used to it being so smooth. In high school and my first several years of being an adult, it was not this easy to care for, to make look nice. It was definitely harder, and it was harder for me to accept because I hadn't gone through the journey that I needed to go through with self-confidence back then. And not everyone is kind with their words about lots of factors about my appearance, but I did specifically get comments about my hair sometimes. And so I'd like to think that where I am in my life and in my confidence journey now, I would be just as happy and just as accepting of how my hair was then. But I do have a much easier time now because my hair just naturally decided to go towards the classic standard of beauty. And I know that not everyone gets that. I know that it is much harder for a lot of other people. And of course, we know that discrimination against certain hair types is still very real. So I want to again reiterate, there is nothing wrong with frizz. Frizz is not the enemy. Frizz is not bad. Frizz can be and is beautiful. I'm strictly sharing this video to get these tips out there to anyone who is happy with their hair or is embracing their hair and wants to utilize the resources they can to reduce frizz for a more defined look. I hope that's clear. You are perfect the way you are. I'm sure of it. Frizz is not evil. It is not bad to have frizzy hair. I hope you can rock whatever hair you have and aim for whatever look you like. and do it all with love and confidence. It's almost the end of the year and I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and so I'm a little bit extra emotional, and I just figured I would be extra vulnerable and open for a minute there. I'm so happy to have you all here. I'm really excited for how my channel can grow in the coming year. I hope I can continue to improve my content, become more comfortable in front of the camera, continue to be vulnerable, and I hope be very helpful to even more people. If you liked this video, please click the thumbs up. That is really, really helpful to me. Comment below what you thought the best tip in this list of 5 tips was. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming content. Remember to love yourself fully and faithfully, and I'll see you next time.